Happy Sunday. This is Husker Hangover. I'm Brandon Shanahan, of course, on the Cornhusker Connection Network and Company. Somber Sunday. It's a good way to put it. You know what? When I came up with the name Husker Hangover, it was mostly because of the alliteration. I like alliteration. Cornhusker Connection, Husker Hangover. I didn't imagine that so many of these shows would actually feel like a hangover, but that's on me. That's my expectations not being in line with what's actually going on. Nebraska loses to Wisconsin in overtime. Bummer. Big time bummer. Feels bad. Initial reaction is we're just not good enough. I'm probably going to say that phrase 100 times during this episode. It's just not good enough. You just needed a little bit more from everybody involved, from offense, defense, and special teams. If I'm going to paint the bright side, there's a lot of positives. Takeaway: Chubba Purdy was really good. His third time the charm for quarterbacks, maybe he was really good. He was really efficient. They came out and played very good to start the game offensively. He was awesome. He looked so comfortable. He was just slinging it around. He took care of the football. He was awesome. I mean, it's looks like I come off critical of benching quarterbacks, but boy, he provided a spark and he was awesome from beginning through the end of overtime. I'm really happy with him. The defense was good too. They were good. We might have been spoiled with how good the defense has been playing, but 17 points against Wisconsin on the road, that's good. That's a good place to be after 60 minutes. They came up with some big stops, and then just Navano hit a very clutch field goal to send it into overtime. Didn't look pretty, didn't split the uprights, but it did get through there, which that's a big moment. It's a big spot. He missed a field goal earlier in the game, and for him to kind of shake that off and get the job done when he needed to, that's really promising. But you just need a little bit more from everybody. The offense really got cold after those first few drives. Kind of diving into the offense, I still don't feel great about Scott Satterfield. I feel like that's not a hot take among Husker fans. And I'm worried that they came off to this great start. They scored 2 touchdowns almost right away. Was really driving before coming up short on a 4th down for another drive. Which, by the way, sidebar to the sidebar, that was the right call. You got to go for it there. You bet your offense is humming down the field. You put your chips on them getting 1 yard, then your freshman kicker on the road getting 50 yards. 50 is not a gimme for him. He's got a boot. He's got a leg. He's still a freshman on the road. And as we saw later in the game, he's not automatic from 50. It is what it is. I think he'll get there. I think he'll absolutely at some point be automatic from 50, but you bet on your offense to get 1 yard. It didn't work out. Bummer. But the offense was looking great, but it seems like as soon as the script ran out and Wisconsin was able to make some adjustments, our offense looks so slow. It looks so bad. And I'm worried because it seems like whenever the scripted plays are fine, I guess, but it seems like whenever he's got to adjust to the adjustments being made, Scott Satterfield has such a hard time drawing up offensive production. And I think this is another example of that. So the offense, we obviously needed more from the offense. The offense was optically, at least, probably the biggest surprise out of this game. But you just need a little bit more. Defense, they came up with some big stops for sure, but you didn't create any turnovers. That overtime set's not great. Kind of got bullied towards the end there. They were good, but just not good enough. And then special teams, Tristan Albano misses that field goal right before half. That, if nothing else, ends the dry spell that offense was having. And then the punt team was pretty bad. I mean, couldn't get anything return-wise. In fact, we muffed a punt, but it went out of bounds. Nobody talks about it. And also, this is why I'm so much in favor of just putting hands out there. Just securing the football. Don't even worry about a return. Folks on Twitter complain about not having a good return game, and that's fine. you look at other teams who generate their entire offense off of punt returns, and you think, why can't we do a little bit of that? We're not there yet. Catch the football first. Secure possessions. Don't turn the ball over. Um, but then the punt team was bad. Bushini wasn't very good. The return team gave up a couple of big returns. Nothing catastrophic, but certainly just not good enough. Wisconsin won in the margins. Penalties plagued Nebraska. Wisconsin did get away with a pretty bad trip in overtime. Running back got bulldozed by Ty Robinson, I think, and then rotated his leg, so they got in the way. Now, it's kind of unfortunate because Robinson was so athletic and so aware that he was just able to hurdle him, but definitely a blatant attempt to trip. I'm not here to complain about the refs. I thought they were fine, especially compared to some of the other calls that we've seen missed over the last few months. Inconsequential, but just not good enough, man. Not good enough. Towards the end of the game, it looked a little bit messy from a clock management standpoint. Now I'm going to defend it because I don't think it was very bad at all. I think it was very intentional what they were trying to do, and I am absolutely here for it. I think they were trying to do two things: get two birds with one stone. One, you don't give Wisconsin a chance to answer back one way or the other. And I know the rebuttal to that is, well, the defense is so good that you trust them to hold them. You couldn't trust them against Maryland late in the game. They gave up two big plays, and that's how Maryland ended up winning the football game. So you don't want to even put them in that spot if you can avoid it. The next, the rebuttal for just that clock management towards the end is you want to take as many shots at the end zone as possible. I would say, have you seen what it looks like when this team takes shots at the end zone? Did you see last week against Maryland what happens when we were inside the 20-yard line and we try to take a shot at the end zone? We threw an interception. Same thing against Minnesota a couple months ago. The more chances that you take at the end zone, the more opportunities you give the defense to come up with an interception. And for an offense that felt like they were due for a turnover, granted, they proved me wrong, but they felt due. And this felt like the spot where they would turn the ball over. I am absolutely okay with playing it pretty passive. Like you're running the ball, trying to create some big plays there. I wish that they had been a little bit more diligent with their timeouts, just so you can keep running the football down there. I think that gives you your best opportunity for success. But at the end of the day, you're within field goal range. You have an opportunity to tie it up with your good kicker. Just don't screw it up. And the more opportunities you try to push the end zone and win the game, the more opportunities you're giving yourself to screw it up. And this team has proven very much in the past that they are going to find a way to screw it up. Granted, they didn't. They took care of the football. No turnovers, which is, he might have thrown an interception that last play of the game. I think he did. Excluding that, you got to throw the football down the field somewhere. Outside of that, no turnovers. That was awesome. But that's why I say this team just isn't good enough yet. Because if you had told me, Brandon, we're going to jump out to a 14-0 lead, we're not going to turn the football over, right? Chubba Purdy's going to be awesome. He's going to be very efficient. He's going to lead the team rushing. He's going to throw for close to 200 yards. He's going to be awesome. No turnovers. Be like, dude, and we get off to a 14-0 start, we clear. It's an easy win. Dub. I mean, celebrate. We're going bowling. But the team's just not good enough. And I was explaining to my dad over the weekend because he shot me a snarky text on Friday. I eventually gave him like a 6-minute voice memo, just kind of educating him a little bit. But he was like, it's the same thing. They're 5 wins. They're losing 1-score games. I'm like, it's different. It's so different. I would argue that it's a better different, that we're seeing progress. That I think that the stones are being placed in a way to build something positive. You can also argue that it's worse, but it is definitely different because it feels like, I mean, like I said, this team just isn't good enough to win one score games. They're not I feel like in the past that they were good enough to win these games, but they didn't know how. I think this team knows how. I just think that they're just not good enough. And I think that's okay. And I think that's a step in in the right direction because you can build on bad. You can build on not good enough. The issue I think in the past has lied with we are good enough. I don't know what the problem is. We keep giving up these weird situations. We're turning the ball over late. We're just finding all these different ways to lose because we don't know how to win. We're good enough to win these games. But now it just doesn't feel like we're good enough to win, and I think that's okay. Granted, we're also missing 75% of our offensive starters. I don't have to go through this stat. We're down 8 offensive starters compared to week 1. That's a crazy stat, by the way. I've seen some folks complaining that they have a cornerback who's hurt, and now that their whole season's over. I was like, whatever, dude. We're on quarterback 3 now. We're missing 75% of our offense. It is what it is. But it sucks, man. It sucks. It doesn't feel good. It feels shitty. It just as it always has. But God damn, there are better days ahead. I know that, and I'll tell you what. You can right a lot of wrongs on Friday. You can kind of. I will never think about this game again. Well, that's not true. I won't never think about this game again. But a win on Friday cures so much. And if I'm going to paint this in a positive light, it really I think puts a bad taste in these players' mouths to lose these games like this. I think they're going to come out with their hair on fire next week. I mean, they kind of came out with their hair on fire last night, and we saw some good stuff come from them. So I think better days are ahead. Friday, you win on Friday. Everything. You go to a bowl game, you beat up on the team from Eastern Iowa. All is well. All is well with the win on Friday. Maybe even you match up in a bowl game with Iowa State, the better of the 2 Iowa teams. So I think that'd be really cool. Or any Big 12 team for that matter. I should say any like hateful 8 team. Actually, no, any like Big 8 team. I think would be good. Maybe a Kansas. I don't know if Kansas will be in the same tier of bowl games. I feel like we'll get matched up with someone pretty bad. But that's also probably good. Oh man, we got a Nugget Cam in the back. He's making biscuits. Loves making biscuits on Sunday mornings. But anyways, lots of other good college football to go over here. I think we're gonna have Brooke Byrne hop on here in a bit. We'll just kind of go over what else happened in college football. Colorado got their doors blown out by Washington State. Holy smokes, they stink. They stink. I'll talk about them a little bit later, but holy smoke, they stink. The SEC got their cupcake game of the week. We'll talk about that. I'll tell you what, and I feel like I've been on this train for a couple of years now, but Miami, they look pretty good, man. I mean, they went toe to toe with Louisville, 6-5, and they played a lot of good team stuff. Oh my gosh, the Jordan Travis stuff is heartbreaking. I mean, that is so sad. Man, just knocking on the doorstep of a college football playoff game. You're playing a worthless opponent and whoever they were playing. And God dang it, that stinks. That stinks so bad, man. I feel so bad. I know a couple of shitty Florida State fans that I don't feel so bad about, but as a whole, man, that stinks. And as somebody who hates the SEC, I love any possibility of any team outside the SEC winning a national championship. So it'll be interesting to see how the committee handles that because I think it would be very cruel to like ding a team for having an injury late when they've won all their football games, 13-0 ACC champions. Presumably, they got to take care of business against Louisville. Got to take care of business against Florida. Keep them out of a bowl game. That'd be pretty cool. I predicted that. Said Florida would win 4 games, maybe 5, probably not 6. Florida State's the only team that they have left on their schedule. So, but shout out Florida a little bit there because scheduled two Power 5 teams, including the defending. Um, did Florida State win the ACC last year? What is that? That would be 2022 ACC championship. Okay, no, it was Clemson, North Carolina. Yeah, Clemson. Yeah, but nonetheless, shout out Florida for scheduling good teams. That's a tough schedule. Tough schedule, and their conference schedule is pretty tough too. I think they only played like 3 true home conference games. So shout out to them for that at least. All right, well, let's just get into this here. So here is my better, worse, same. Teams that are better than I thought, teams that are worse than I thought, and teams that are about par with what I thought they would be. Let's see here. Okay, so who's better than I thought? Arizona is way better than I thought. Holy smokes! That's a good ball team. I mean, they knocked the doors out of Utah, who I think is a good team. I mean, I put a wager on Bookie Brook and the boys that they would win straight up, and they got torched by Arizona. Holy smokes! I did have a tweet that got a little bit of traction talking about how I was, or not Iowa. I'm so fucking enthralled with those guys, but talking about Utah because I've heard a lot of chirping that they're going to come in and run the Big 12 like year one, and I'm like, settle down, dude. You were like you were one conversation away from being a Mountain West team. Get the fuck out of here. Um, but and I think that they will be very good, and I think that they absolutely do have a chance to win the Big 12 championship in year one, especially if Cam Rising's back. Holy smokes! But Arizona, yeah. To kind of get back to square one here, I think it means so much more that Arizona is good than Utah is bad. So, but I did have a tweet that's like, you know what? Maybe you're not even the best team to come into the Big 12 this year. We'll see. We'll see. Also, Jed Fish, coach at Arizona, very, very. Oh, excuse me, very prime for the plucking as far as head coaches go. If you're looking for a new head coach, also just throwing out there this morning, confirmed that Sam Pittman for Arkansas is going to be back. I think that's a good call. I think, yeah, you give them one more year to figure it out. You know, I expected Arkansas to kind of have a down year this year. They lost a lot of talent. Um, you do hope to be a little bit better with KJ Jefferson back there still, and they just weren't. But I think he's earned enough good grace where he took over that program. They were in a real rough spot. So I think that just in that it buys him another year. You got to figure it out though this offseason. Got to get a good OC in there. Scott Frost? Probably not Scott Frost, but oh man, I'll be rooting for Scott Frost wherever he goes, by the way. Also better than I thought. Kansas, I know they lost. But they're on their third quarterback, man. I mean, we talked about last year, felt like when Jalen Daniels, who, by the way, I don't know what to think of Jalen Daniels. He, so he hasn't played since before the Texas game. He goes out very last minute with this last minute back injury. It really stinks to me like he's saving his red shirt and going to the transfer portal so he can save a year of eligibility. And then nothing for weeks, nothing. I mean, there's not even really a sniffle of him playing. Now, shout out Jason Bean. He comes in, plays well, wins them a couple of games, beats up on Iowa State a few weeks ago in Ames. And then this week he comes out with a video, and then it seems like he's coming back to Kansas. But also worth mentioning, in his comeback announcement video, he's not wearing anything Kansas related. He doesn't say anything about Kansas. Just like I'm here. I think it seems like a grab for some NIL deals, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But objectively, I think he's coming back. But it doesn't feel like it. Weird spot for him. I wonder if it was something where like he heard some buzz around landslide pulled to Michigan State and was like, hey, if you're going somewhere, I'm going somewhere. So I gotta save this year. Um, but at that point, Kansas still had, everything in front of them. I mean, you beat Texas, which I think they very well could have done with Jalen Daniels at that point in the season. I don't know. Things are different. But anyways, now they're on QB3 and they're still competing with that, second second kind of tier of the Big 12. I don't want to call it like a tier because like it feels like it's Texas and then the other good Big 12 teams. And Kansas is right there with that other good Big 12 teams, despite being on their third quarterback. So I think that's impressive. They're better than I thought, and I'm very hopeful that if Lance Leipold stays, he'll take even another step next year and really make the Big 12 a good conference. I love the Big 12, man. Oregon's a wagon, dude. Watch out. Holy smokes, dude. 49-0 at halftime. Now, Arizona State's not very good. But, man, since that Washington game, they just haven't let up. I'm no mathematician here. You know what? Let's do some math here. Because, I mean, they've not even sniffed a competitive football game since then. So let me do some math here. We got time. It's Sunday morning. What else do we have going on? Okay. So since Washington, they beat up on Washington State 38-24. Utah, 13th ranked at the time, 35-6. Cal, 63-19. 19's a lot. I remember that game. I was like, I don't think because the spread was 59 points and I gave Tyler a hard time for taking the over. And it turns out that Oregon's going to clear it by themselves, and Cal is going to add another 20 points to make me look even dumber. USC 36-27, and then last night 49-13, which I mean all 49 of those points scored in the first half. So they're just a wagon, man. I mean, they've been so good lately. So here we go, 38 plus 35 plus 63 plus 36 plus 49, 221 points. And then they've given up 24 points, plus 6 points, plus 19 points, plus 27 points, plus 13 points. So they've outscored their opponents. And by the way, this is like the meat of the Pac-12 schedule. This isn't like the first 3 games of the season where you get cupcake teams. You get, I mean, these are real teams. I mean, USC's on this list. Utah's on this list. The Arizona schools are on this list. I mean, that's not like an SEC game in November here, by the way. So they are outscoring their opponents 221-89 during that stretch. They're a wagon, dude. Watch out. That Pac-12 championship game, assuming they don't stumble this week, is going to be such a treat. Such a treat, man. And I feel like that was the only real, like, meaningful conference championship game we got last year was the Pac-12 with USC and Utah. But, man, I'll say it. We got a real good slate of conference championship games coming up. Florida State and Louisville should be fun to watch. Georgia and Alabama, of course, going to be riots. Hopefully, undefeated Washington and Oregon. I think we get to watch Michigan or Ohio State just blow the doors off of that team from Eastern Iowa. I mean, mwah. Hope Iowa fans enjoy it. It'll be the last time we ever see them in a Big 10 championship game. So shout out to them. Hope you enjoy it. Good run, man. Good run. And like I said earlier this year, and I'll talk about this later, if Iowa was going to play for a Big 10 championship game, they needed to lock it up before Lincoln. So shout out to them. They did it. Feels like the opposite of Nebraska, where they're not a very good team. Now Nebraska's not very good, but they're not a good team, but they win games. So I'd rather be a bad team that wins games than a good team that doesn't win games. And I know what that feels like because Nebraska's had good teams and lost games. So it is what it is. Worse than I thought, Colorado stinks, man. And I talked about Colorado before the season. I said, we're going to get a resolution on if this Coach Prime experiment is going to work pretty quickly. Meaning, if it goes well, so much of the future success of this program is built on just sheer momentum. Because it's such a good sales job by Coach Prime. And if you can sell them that, hey, things are cooking in Boulder, I mean, it's going to steamroll and going to snowball into something very special, I think. However, if it doesn't manifest as anything and it's still, you still stink and hey, you're telling folks, hey, we got something cooking here, and it looks like raw egg. You're like, all right, I'm gonna go somewhere more established, and that's how you momentum's so huge for what Colorado's trying to do. And so I said, for better or for worse, we're gonna get a resolution pretty quickly. And admittedly, this is kind of what that second scenario looks like. They're not very good. I also said at the beginning of the season, they're very thin. They got a lot of good talent. They've upgraded pretty much the entire team head to toe, but it's very thin. So as the season gets down, it's gonna be harder and harder for them to win games. Getting your doors knocked off by Washington State, that's a good example of that. Um, I guess I'd probably more so put them in the same, but they got a tough game against Utah this week, and just like Nebraska, you can right a lot of wrongs with the win on Friday. You can right a lot of wrongs. USC's worse than I thought. I felt like I was on an island when I predicted that they would lose 3 games. But when I said that, it was always with the caveat with I think USC's might be the best team in the Pac-12. That part is not true. They're not very good. Caleb Williams is still special. They still have a lot of good offensive pieces. They can still score with the best of them, but as a defense and a team aspect, they're just not good enough yet, and that's okay. Hopefully that they can get a real defensive coordinator in there. Because I guess now that they're in the Big Ten, I'm probably less excited for their success. Um, but yeah, 7-5, man. 7-5. By the way, they have played all 12 games because of their wonky ass schedule. Whoever put that schedule together, man, I mean, just did them no favors. Now they didn't come out and play very good against UCLA. Okay, also side note about UCLA, why are there rumblings about them firing Chip Kelly? Chip Kelly's a damn good football coach. Chip Kelly took over a program with no momentum, and he turned them into a winning program. They're not just the other program in Los Angeles now. And of course, the win against USC helps that. But even before then, like they're good. And I think, especially making this big move to the Big Ten, I don't think that it feels very risky to throw out good for what, man? I mean, UCLA is not going to have the dollars to compete for the number one guy like Texas A&M is. There's going to be a lot of uncertainty with them going to a more competitive league. I mean, this isn't the time to make a change like this. This isn't the time to switch things up, especially with how the transfer portal works. Because not only do you lose Chip Kelly, but you lose 15 guys that came with him. Even if he doesn't go anywhere, I mean, they're like, well, if the coach that I came here to play for isn't there, including 5-star quarterback Dante Moore, what am I doing here? Let me go somewhere else, man. I mean, I don't get it. So I hope that's not the case. I guess as a fan of a team in their future league, I hope they do it because I think it'd be a dumb move. But man, I don't get the movement there. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But back to point one, USC is not as good as I thought they would be, and I feel like it's pretty much universal experience. I don't know if anybody had them going 7-5 this year. Did have them going 9-3. I didn't have them losing to UCLA specifically. So I got a couple of their games right, but nonetheless, Florida State and this dude is so heartbreaking, man. But yeah, they got to be on here because without Jordan Travis, that team is probably the ceiling on that team is much lower, and it's heartbreaking. Oh gosh, and like there's a lot of like back and forth between Brooke and I and Tyler about Florida State because Brooke was adamant about Florida State from the jump, where he was like, "This team's gonna win the national championship game." Even with Jordan Travis, I don't know if they do that, but we've gone back and forth. But man, it stinks that we won't get to see like what that team looks like and what that situation comes to fruition with. So that's a bummer. Teams that I feel the same about. I mean, the SEC, Auburn got their doors blown off by God knows who, and I who did they lose to? And it's also a bummer because, and I don't know, rivalry games are different, but Tyler and I proposed um a scenario where it's two Big Ten teams and two Pac-12 teams in the college football playoff. And a big part of that is Auburn has to beat Alabama next week. Auburn stinks, so they got blown out 31-10 at home to New Mexico State, who they gave $2 million to. So they got $2 million check, came in, um, ran all over them, doubled up your score, and then some. Won by 3 touchdowns. So that's cool. Yeah, the SEC stinks, dude. And like, here's the thing, like, so we talk about like depth in conferences. So the SEC pretty much clears at the top end. I mean, with the way Georgia and Alabama's played on the national scale, can't touch them, dude. It is what it is at the high end. But where I argue that they're weak is everywhere else in that conference. Everywhere else they stink, and it's because where you see the Pac-12 feast on each other, and they get dinged for it, but the SEC feast on each other, and then they elevate them. They're like, oh well, yeah, they lost, but they lost to a really good team. Well, why are they a really good team? Oh, because they're in the SEC. They lost to this team and this team, but it doesn't matter, dude. The SEC stinks. They get this extra non-conference game, so every team basically gets another free win. And I heard Brandon Walker. I heard him talk about, well, what's the difference? All the other teams in college football play a non-conference game in September. What's the difference? First of all, there's two differences. One, the SEC also plays 3 non-conference games in September. Bozo. They also get an additional one right in the meat of everybody else's conference schedule. And then second of all, what's the difference? I had a point here. There's two differences. One is the fact that the SEC does still have that game in September. Yeah, I don't know. But the SEC stinks. Auburn got blown out. Love to see it. The SEC is not good, and they're not very. They haven't been very good. Eastern Iowa, they still stink. I would have told you that. Boy, 9 wins. What are they? 9-2. That's an insane clip for a team as bad as Eastern Iowa. That is an insane clip for a team as bad as they are. But like I said, dude, I'd rather. I mean, shout out to them, dude. I think. Oh man, I just saw this tweet from Mitch Sherman. 3 times Nebraska has fought for a 6th win and bowl eligibility on Black Friday, including 2004, where we lost to Colorado 26-20, and 2015, where we lost to Eastern Iowa 28-20, and then in 2019, when we lose to Iowa 27-24. So that's not very promising. To be fair, boy, that's a bummer. I kind of wish I hadn't seen that. Yeah, I really wish I hadn't seen that. That stinks. That stings quite a bit. Okay, so here you go. Let's pull this bad boy up here. Mississippi State. So let's just go through the schedule here. Beat Southern Louisiana. I got that right. They beat Arizona. I got that right. LSU, they lost. I got that right. South Carolina, they lost. I got that right. Alabama, they lost. I got that right. They beat Western Michigan. I got that right. They did beat Arkansas. I thought they would lose to Arkansas on the road. They didn't. I got that one wrong. They lost to Auburn. I got that right. They lost to Kentucky. I got that right. They lost to Texas A&M. I got that right. They beat Southern Mississippi yesterday. I got that right. So what is that? 10 for 11. 10 for 11 is a pretty good clip. Just want to throw that out there. And it's funny because this is one I got the most pushback on, and it's probably the one that I'm most correct about. Right? Like, like I don't think I got. I guess I'll have to go through it at the end of the season, but I don't think I got 10 out of 11 for anybody else outside of Mississippi State. So I got them right. I've been right on them all year. I was right about them before the year. Now there's some caveat to Will Rogers. I didn't. When I go and collect my receipts, that'll be the one thing that I get pushback on is, oh, Will Rogers got hurt. And that's true, and that's unfortunate, and that can derail a lot of team seasons. So I don't want to take like a full victory lap because like when I did my predictions, it was with a healthy Will Rogers. So I feel like I'm almost getting bailed out by him getting hurt, but it is what it is. So that's my my better worst same for the week. Like I said, all the wrongs can be righted for Nebraska with the win on Friday, man. I mean, everything can be taken care of, and everything can just a win on Friday cures everything, man. But I see the blocks being built here for Nebraska, and it stinks that we're not good enough, and it stinks that we're losing games because we're not good enough. Oddly enough, it doesn't feel any better. Well, I guess it might feel a little bit better. It doesn't feel good, I guess is my point here. It doesn't feel good. Man, it just I wonder if they've come out with a point spread for the Iowa game yet. Oh, brother, Iowa's a 1-point favorite. Iowa's a 1-point favorite. Sometimes up to 1.5, but a 1-point favorite. Fuck, dude. Oh, God, I need them. I want to win so bad. Yeah, man. 1 point at home, man. I'm juiced, man. I feel bad after that Wisconsin loss. I feel bad after the Michigan State and the Maryland game. All of that's over if we beat Iowa this year. I because this is, I think it's safe to say this is going to be the worst Nebraska team we see. It's year one under Coach Rule. He takes time to build programs. This is year one. It's not supposed to be good. It's not supposed to be pretty. It's not supposed to work well quite yet. So if Nebraska can still find a way to beat up on this 8-win Iowa team, 8 wins, that's only 10 games. Nebraska. I don't think they've updated that. Yeah, because okay, it doesn't matter, but man, I'm juiced. Let's go Big Red. I'm hyped. Should be a good game. It'll be the ugliest thing you'll ever see, but should be a good game. That's all I got. So make sure to like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Even if you don't like it, just do it. It helps me. If you like me as a person, just do it. Just tell me I did a good job. It is what it is. Oh boy, abbreviated week here on Cornhusker Connection. Just one episode of the Big 12 show, one episode of Cornhusker Connection. Probably won't do a Bookie Brook full episode this week with the holiday because there's just no good in posting anything on Thursday and Friday. I guess we'll probably do something on Saturday or something like that, but probably not. Probably not. But we also got a new show on the program that I'm super excited about. Us Sundays with the Sprinkles. It's an NFL show with Brett and Tyler Sprinkle. Brett's public enemy number 1 this week, but boy, he's putting on a good show. That show is going to be awesome. I'm so excited for that to hit his stride. And that's going to be coming out this week as well. So episode 1's already out. Check that out. So great stuff here. We got daily football content now, which is outstanding stuff. I couldn't ask for anything more, but I'll do it for me today. We got Eastern Iowa this week. Should be a great week. Thanksgiving, of course. Go Big Red.